What's going on, everyone? So episode 1 of season 3 really just set the tone and the standard for this season going forward. It was just this roller coaster ride of just action-packed stuff. It was chaotic, but in a good way, in a good manner. And it was like, how are they going to top episode 1? And one of the things that I talked about was that this would kind of deal with the aftermath, that it wouldn't be so chaotic in the sense of just the monsters and chaos of Fromville, but kind of dealing with the aftermath and the effect and the toll that it's starting to take on people. And lo and behold, that's what we got. In episode 2, you saw the aftermath and after impacts on various characters from Tian meeting her demise in episode 1. Obviously, it left us on that cliffhanger where Boyd was reacting, and then you got to see even more of the aftermath and even the condition that Tian was in, which I thought was very interesting, right? Because you watched episode 1, it was like, oh man, they're not going to like show how bad it was, especially for this show, because it's done a job with that. And then you got to see it, and it was brutal, and it was tough, and it just, again, continued to, this season is just been excellent. I mean, you can make an argument that these first 2 episodes have been the 2 best episodes in the entire series, right? Like, this episode was all about just the Fromville breaks you down mentally, physically, emotionally, right? The characters that we watch and engage in. This episode was designed to break us, the viewer, down, was designed to break us, the fan, down in this just emotional roller coaster of an episode, right? Just seeing the aftermath of Boyd, and then even kind of getting a little insight into where Julie's at in her mental state. But also, it starts off with this joy, right? One of the big issues that's going on in Fromville right now is the lack of food shortage, right? They have no food. They have nothing to eat, and panic is starting to set in. And then, lo and behold, Jim and Kenny end up finding enough food to feed everybody, right? They find, what was it, cabbage or lettuce or whatever, but it was enough to feed everybody. And then you see jumps to Tian and her death, and it's just like, it felt like a sacrifice for food, right? From continues to giveth and taketh away. You keep constantly seeing this, hey, we're going to give you food, but we're going to take someone that's so beloved. And Tian's impact in that community was felt. I mean, this episode really broke you down. And then, you know, Kenny coming and just being so excited, so happy. He thinks, you know, him and Jim, you know, they didn't just go out there for no reason. They didn't go out there for a loss. They ended up saving the town. And then to come home and realize that your mother's gone, and just dealing with the emotional impacts and emotional strain that Kenny had to deal with in this episode, as well as just Boyd and him in this position. And we also find out what Kenny's mother was saying to Boyd, which was, take care of him, he's going to be alone now. And that just, you hear and see Kenny just break, right? You just see him when he's reciting to Kenny, trying to talk him out of going into the tunnels, and you just see Kenny just completely have a breakdown. And it's such a hard-hitting scene, because you know, and then when he relays what she said, you know, because Boyd thought she was reciting a prayer or something, and he just kept reciting it over and over and over and over and over and over again. So that way he could remember it, so that way he could memorize it, so that way he could relay it to Kenny, and then Kenny relays what it actually means. And it's just like, this episode just really took you on a roller coaster of emotions with all of these characters, right? Even Jim starting to see the disconnect with his family, with his children. And we'll touch on that here more later in this video, because something happened to Jim that is very interesting. But even beyond the aftermath of Tian and just the roller coaster of emotion that you dealt with in this episode, another big part, another big piece was Henry and Tabitha's interaction. And you got to see a little more in depth. I like that Henry was incredibly skeptical right out the gate, right? You know, you see a lot of shows, character, like there's a situation like that, character comes in and everyone's just kind of like, oh yeah, I believe you. Even though he recognized and had proof and things that would have and should have in a lot of ways led him to believe, but it's been so long. And I mean, he relays that it all started when he was 35. This guy's in his like 70s now, right? So again, I like that this show didn't just have this character that you're introducing and he just immediately believes everything. And it just, no, like you saw the struggle. You saw him not trying to wrap his head around the situation. Even when he does start to believe her, he still questions and goes, hey, like if you're lying to me, please just tell me now. And you could see the hurt. You could see the heartache. He relays that, hey, I don't even care that everyone thought I did it. I don't even care that, everyone blamed me and thought I was this, this freak or whatever, right? Like, I wanted my family. And we also find out the mother's name, which is Miranda. And we find out that Miranda was chosen. This episode gave us so much insight into Miranda, and something that I've talked about in like several of the just theory videos was that Miranda seemed to know so much. How did she know so much? And we find out that the reason she knows so much is because she was chosen. He relays that, hey, we stopped doing drugs and all that stuff, but to commemorate my birthday and stuff, we decided to do some psychedelics. Miranda ends up taking some psychedelics, and that's where it began. And then she essentially was remote viewing all of Fromville. I mean, she knew the people, the town. I mean, she was able to explain. I mean, even the drawings, right? She has the drawings. And, I mean, it's not just the children, because that was the thing that you kind of saw in the trailer, like the drawings. No, she had from the military soldier to the bottle tree to the colony house. Right? Like, so how long has Colony House been? Right? You just start going down the list of these drawings, and she had everything, the boy in white, all of it. And you find out that Tabitha is also, that she is chosen as well. So we got the explanation as to why Miranda, well, 1, we got Miranda's name. 2, we got the explanation of why she knew so much. 3, we understood and now know that Tabitha has also been chosen, and now it's Tabitha's journey to kind of go through this. But you hear Henry ask her a question that we don't get to have answered. Basically, why did you get out? Right? Because you were supposed to save the children. That was the way. And we didn't see her save any children. Unless there's something else to it here that we missed or whatever. Like, there's got to be a reason that she got out. There's got to be a purpose. Now, is it a malicious, like, nefarious type purpose? Or is it, like, the boy in white is helping her be the first? Because everyone else failed. That was what was said. That everyone else failed. So you're starting to see this connection, this build up, this relationship between Henry and Tabitha. And obviously we're going to have more information digest. More information is going to be relayed. I like that Henry doesn't have all the answers. Right? He's just going off of what Miranda relayed and kind of what bits and pieces where he picked up, but he kind of thought she was going crazy type thing. So, because usually, again, with these types of shows, there's the guy that's there and he's like the grand wizard that just knows everything and every detail and this and that. And it kind of becomes a little silly. And, obviously good writing, good execution, good delivery can change a lot, right? Like, so even if he did know everything, depending on how they wrote it and shaped it and stuff, it might have came across well. It might have been okay. But I like that he doesn't know. I like that he was very reluctant, even called the police. Police show up. He's kind of like in the middle here of like, do I believe her? Do I not? Is she real? Is she crazy? Right? Am I going crazy? Like, I love the conflict internally for Henry. And then I like that he didn't have all the answers. He didn't know every detail. Well, if you do this, like, he's kind of going on this journey now as well, right? He's kind of in the middle and in the midst of this journey to try to navigate with Tabitha. And it kind of seems like they're going to help each other. And obviously, you can imagine he wants to get back to his son. He found out his son's alive. He doesn't want to just... He thought his son, his family, everyone was dead. Now he knows his son's alive. You can imagine he would like to help her get back, and maybe they can kind of decipher these drawings and stuff. I really like their interaction thus far. Because again, it's usually pretty predictable. You find the person that's supposed to have all the answers, and of course they have all the answers. They believe you right away. It's, where I like that this wasn't that. He didn't believe her right away. He thought she was crazy. He thought she was just some homeless lady. Like this place, even though his wife talked and had these crazy experiences and stuff about this place and all that, he still was just like, okay, this lady's clearly off her rocker, as my wife was. And then he got the trigger sentence where he was like, oh, wait a minute. You know what? On second thought, I really like that dynamic. I really like that element about their interaction. But beyond those two key things that happened, we have Fatima, who is pregnant, and her and Ellis are trying to navigate her pregnancy. She's kind of dealing with some struggles, right? She's having stomach issues and vomiting and loses a tooth. And it's just kind of like, man, like she is falling apart. She's not doing well. She's not eating. She's just doing everything she can to try to survive. And she has this baby, and there's the concerns of losing it. And then, we saw in the previous episode, in episode 1, Elgin is seeing this like omen of death for the child and all, or for Fatima, because that's what that spirit was. Maybe I'll do a deep dive video into that actual spirit, because it is based on folklore. So all these signs, all these signals are kind of like, hey, Fatima is probably not going to survive this. But then we really start to unpack and unravel certain elements of her pregnancy. Now, in hindsight, it appears that she is actually rotting from the inside. And begs the question of, like, is this like a dead, living baby? Like, is it really a baby? Is it something more? Is it a monster that she's, harboring, right? That she's growing inside of her? Is it this just like, essence that's really not a baby? It's just mimicking a pregnancy, right? But really it's just eating her from the inside. We see her start to eat all the rotting, decaying food. And she won't eat anything. She's refusing to eat. And then she gets attracted to the food, and as like a dog would with a steak or something, right? And she just takes a bite out of it. She starts sniffing it, takes a bite out of it, and then you see her just start going to town on all of this rotting food. And it's just like, what is going on here? Right? You're not supposed to consume that. And it's just, you continuously see these levels of foreshadowing with Fatima, right? You see the harbinger of death for a woman in childbirth, to the rotting of the crops, right? And then you see Fatima start to embellish herself into these crops that are rotting, and she literally won't eat anything else. And you got to imagine that that's going to continue to play a role, right? That's going to continue to be a story plot and story point going forward, and kind of how she deals and handles with not only this pregnancy, but all this rotten food, because at some point they're going to get rid of it, right? So does she start sabotaging the new food and stuff? How are they going to approach? It's going to be very interesting to see how the Fatima storyline and Ellis, how does Ellis respond? Because you got to imagine he's going to he's not going to take too kindly to people trying to stop her or anything like that. So I think there's this clear story point that is continuing to grow and develop. But last key point is Jim getting the phone call. We finally see him get the phone call. Now, we don't see the full conversation yet. It leaves us on that cliffhanger. But Jim gets the phone call and he hears, Dad, it's Thomas. For those that maybe need a refresher, Thomas is Jim and Tabitha's son who passed away. It's been a story point from season 1. And with that passing, we all know he's not talking to Thomas. This episode really seems to be, and even just this season period, really seems to be about breaking these characters now. As you saw with Boyd, they really want to break Boyd. Jim is, under all accounts, he believes that he lost Tabitha. The Tabitha's dead. Even Julie is like, we need to just accept it. She went out there without a talisman. Mom's gone. Everybody's trying to deal and cope with Mom basically being gone. They don't know that she's alive and in the real world, or what appears to be the real world, right? They all believe she's dead. Julie is breaking down and even goes and speaks to Sarah and says, I don't want to turn into you. I don't want to become you, but I'm kind of this place is starting to get to me. There is clearly a disconnect that is happening amongst Jim and his children. What better way to start really breaking Jim down, especially mentally, if he starts to believe he's talking to his dead son? I'm sure there's going to be a dialogue. Hopefully it's not as simple as Jim going like, oh, well, clearly it is my son. Hopefully he's skeptical, right? Which I imagine he will and should be. But we know it's not the son. We know that there's something evil that keeps trying to get in touch and talk to Jim and all that. And I think that that's going to be, again, a real point to where this season is really shaping up to try to break all these people down. Jim already had the conspiracy theory and all these people are in on it and all that. And you're starting to see the cracks in various characters, including Jim. And I believe that that's going to continue. I believe that now they're kind of targeting key people. You see the manipulation with Kenny in the diner when he's trying to just kind of have a moment to himself. And you get the little jukebox on all the booths starts to play. What was it? A celebration, graduation or whatever, right? Like, that is in and of itself a taunt and a mental break, and trying to, which again, I love. Most shows just kind of let that marinate, but not this show. The show continues to play into like, no, this place is trying to break you down, trying to break down Kenny, trying to break down, you see Boyd, right? Trying to break down Jim over and over and over again. These characters are continuously trying to be broken, but I'm really excited to see how this season continues moving forward. What did you think about this episode? What are your thoughts about the first 2 episodes as a whole? Again, we'll continue to talk about these and got a ton of theories to dive into. So make sure you're staying tuned. Make sure, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, let me know down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.